So we're recording now. You know, SCDC loves the recording. Uh, so we're recording now. So I like to again let you guys know that this is the Greater Inglewood CDC Business Plan Bootcamp that we offer twice a year, and also that we are funded by the Illinois SCDC, as well as the City of Chicago Neighborhood Business Development Centers and BACP, BACP, which is Business Affairs and Consumer Protection in the City of Chicago. So that is the reason why we're able to offer this, and we're able to offer it at no charge. So we're excited on tonight to get some more information and a little bit more detail from some of our community partners. And so I'm gonna shoot it off to Lauren right now, and because she has some great stuff. And so we got some business owners that would be really interested in what is happening in Bronzeville. Go right ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Maura and team. So I'm Lauren. I am the Director of Small Business Development for Bill Bronzeville, and also the Director of the Illinois SBDC at Bill Bronzeville. We are, as I like to call it, GECDC Sister Center. We do a lot of things in concert with each other. One of the things, or what I want to share with you all today is, as a part of Bill Bronzeville. So Bill Bronzeville, for those who aren't familiar, is a set of initiatives led by Urban Juncture Foundation. So we are the actual nonprofit in the organization. We have a number of initiatives. We have 5 core initiatives, and it is the umbrella of those 5 that we call Bill Bronzeville. So what we're going to talk about today is actually Boxville. Boxville is one of those core initiatives, and it is an accelerator. We've started to really describe it as an accelerator, if you will, for small businesses and entrepreneurs like yourself to have your first opportunity, or maybe it's just a new opportunity at a physical storefront that is what I like to think of as a stepping stone from kind of being home-based or e-commerce based, but not quite full brick and mortar and all of the costs associated with brick and mortar. There's also just a component of business support resources, like having an SBDC here. We also have the Bronzeville Incubator is about 100 feet away from Boxville, and it serves as the administrative hub, if you will, to the Boxville businesses that are there. So before I go into more of the nuts and bolts of Boxville, I'm gonna share a short video. It is 90 seconds. Or a short film, if you will. Let me call it by its proper title. It was a short film that was created by a local filmmaker and submitted last year. Submitted and won 3rd place, if you will, in an international short film competition about places around the globe. So the local filmmaker is Asia Taylor. She did a fantastic job. So I'm going to share that for you because I think it'll give you a feel and a flavor of Boxville if you're not familiar with it. Disclaimer: we are Bill Bronzeville, and this film is super Bronzeville centric. So I know that this is Inglewood. I'm not going to step on anybody's toes. We are all family here, but know that it's going to say that Bronzeville is the center of everything because that is the lens from which the film was made. So don't come for me for that, okay? All right, let's see here. Can everybody see that? Yeah, okay. Let me see if I got my volume together.
Destination Chicago, capital of Black America. Ain't no town like this town. Bronzeville is the heart of Black Chicago. Boxville is Chicago's first shipping container market. It is designed to provide accessible space to bring neighbors together to rebuild community.
You're just drawn into it between the music and the shops and the food. It's full of activity. It's full of a lot of people of color doing positive things. It's just a very cool space to be.
So we're in a shipping container right now, and the way we transformed it was tailoring it for the type of work we were going to be doing inside of it. So on our launch day, we actually sold out of items in the middle of the pandemic, right? Wow. So the idea is to grow.
I started at a table at Boxville, and then now we're at a brick and mortar. Freestyle is the best loaded palm frites you can get.
We're focused on creating local opportunity, and that is where the injustice has been.
Boxville is essential to the future of Boxville and Black Metropolis because it provides some entrepreneurial business enterprise infrastructure.
All right. So that's Boxville. That's what it looks like. That's the feel and the vibe of Boxville. So as you heard in the piece, it is they are literal shipping containers. So the actual boxes that we have recycled and built out as storefronts. And so they have their drywall, there's electricity, there's kind of internet. We got a little thing happening with Comcast, but like we're getting there. But it is, a great platform, as I said earlier, for you to be able to go from being e-commerce based to now having a physical place where someone can come and find you. There's always activities and events and all kinds of things that go on at Boxville. Right now, there are 10 businesses that are operating out of Boxville. The oldest, if you will, our most senior business, they have been there all 3 years that the boxes have been there. And the idea behind Boxville is that no one lives there, no one stays there. The idea, and which is why I say it's an accelerator, is that you come, you grow your business and eventually grow out of Boxville. The business that's been there the longest is actually the one that was featured in there that said they opened and sold out on that day. But they have been there, and they are the largest box that is there. They are a 40-foot container box that does direct to garment custom printing and design. So you can go and get all kinds of things made there on pretty much any type of garment that you can think of. But that's one half of the space, and the other half of the space is an experiential, like, retail space. And so they've grown from being a 10-foot box to a 20-foot box to now a full 40, and with the next piece being, to be a brick and mortar. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with Freestyle, which is on 51st and Prairie, but you saw Corey from Freestyle on there that, they started as a pop-up vendor as a table. So we also do pop-up markets. We do pop-up markets throughout the summer and fall. We actually closed out our pop-up season, our official market season last weekend, 2 weekends ago. 2 weekends ago, we usually close up mid-October as far as the markets, but we do pop-up vending through there. I have actually some vendors that are clients of GECDC, SBDC, who have popped up this summer during the market season. So that's, for most folks, their entryway into Boxville and how you learn about it. So, I think it's a great resource. I will share Boxville's website just for you to learn more information. I will say at the moment, all of the boxes are full. I tell people the inn is full. And so we are not looking for, any new businesses probably until spring, summer 2022. But it ranges. You can, leases start from 3 months to, 3 months, 6 months, a year kind of thing, because again, the goal and more than just being like a landlord, and this is a place for you to have a storefront. It's a place for you to grow with other businesses. All the businesses down there collaborate with each other. They're a community together. They do activations and events together. They learn things from each other. It's a really great place to further incubate your business. I will say, because we do, if when someone goes to apply to become a vendor, we do what we call a business concept review. So this isn't, oh, I got an idea, let me go get a box. It's not that, right? We are looking for we are looking, one, it's a very limited amount of space that is there. And so you want to make sure that it is doiled out in the right way. But it is also a thing of, a lot of folks approach wanting a box, and it's like, you actually don't need a box for that, whatever that thing that you do. It would be taking on an extra expense that's probably not going to get your business any further than you need to. And I think even serving as an additional kind of business coaching function is one of the benefits of Boxville over just, if you go to normal or traditional commercial real estate, I mean, if you can pay for the lease, they're going to give you the lease, right? Without any regard for if you need it, if it's going to help grow your business or anything like that. Whereas, you apply for Boxville, more often than not, the answer is going to be one of, let's talk about your business itself. And let's see, how we get it to where it needs to be, regardless of a box. So that is Boxville.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren.
No problem.
Are there any questions or anybody that has questions for Lauren right now?
Hi, Asia. This is Ray Bacon. I have a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Lauren?
I was wondering, you mentioned that your incubator was adjacent to Boxville. Is the incubator, is that a brick and mortar building, or is that part of the boxes?
No, it's brick and mortar. So the incubator, the Bronzeville incubator, it's where, like, I am physically sitting. It's where our office is. It's where the SBDC is located.
Okay.
It's an incubation co-working or shared space co-working space that has, your conference room and all of those things. And it's really an additional great amenity for the businesses in Boxville, because now they have somewhere to meet vendors or meet, clients or investors, or have a meeting or things like that.
So you have conference rooms there for people.
We have a conference room, but there's a fair amount of just kind of open meeting space.
Okay. And what would it be for a 3-month beginning lease?
Yeah, so they range based on the size of the box.
Yes.
So our smallest box is what we call the micro boxes. They are 10 by 10. And so micro boxes are, $400 a month. So it goes to 10, the 20, and the 40 foot. We only have 2 40-foot boxes, 2 businesses that operate out of a full 40 foot on the whole footprint. But the micro boxes are for 20 footers, I think, are $6, and the 40 footers are $850. So again, you're talking a fraction of a traditional space.
Yeah. I if anyone's interested in how much more you can pay, let me know.
Lauren, are you guys planning on expanding anytime soon on the lot, or is that about it?
No, definitely. So this year we actually added 2 more no, that's not the truth. We added 3 more boxes. And so what we do is we'll, when I say boxes, we always kind of think of them in 20-foot equivalents. So one of the boxes we added 2 40-foot boxes, and we then we carved those up, right? And so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So of those 3 boxes that we added, that was actual 6 storefronts that were added this year. And the goal is to add every season, to add additional boxes. I mean, we're at, I said 10 businesses are here. And those 10 businesses range from 10-foot boxes to 40-foot boxes. And I mean, that is, put it like this, there were 2 boxes in 2017. So not that long ago. So yeah, every year we're adding them.
So let me ask another question, if I may. Do you have open, open space that's pop-up space?
So we do like I said, during market season, we do table vending. The way that, let me see if I can just get a picture of Boxville. But the way that it is set up, in the very front of Boxville, there's an open square that we call the market square. And we do table vending there. So let me see. I have a whole lot of versions of a site map. I'm just gonna pick one because I don't know what's the difference. And I'm gonna share here. So from an aerial street view, right? So we are on 51st and Calumet. Yep. And so here's 51st Street. And these are all boxes. So this is that open piece that I was mentioning that we call the market square. So when we do the normal market season, this is, a collection of tables. There's always a DJ or a band like for market days to add to that energy. And then on the back side, there's additional open space that we call the neighborhood square. And we tend to, in that piece, do additional programming to add activation to the space, but that tends to be more like family centric or arts, like a dance class or an exercise class. Or if there's just a lot of things going on. So for the last market that I mentioned was our season closeout during Open House Chicago a couple weeks ago. There was a barbecue pit right here. There was a barbecue smoker right here, and there were some vendors here. So we do pop-up vending as well during the active market season, because obviously this is all outdoors. So the boxes themselves, they operate year round. I mean, they have electricity, they have space heaters in there and the like. But the markets, we shut down mid-October.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you? I'm Alonzetta. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you tell me more about the business concept event?
Oh yeah, the business. So it's our fancy way of saying we chat with you. So if someone applies, there's a Google form that's on the actual website that filters into us. And like I said, right now, just because of where it'll be, easily, it'll be about 5 months before we're really taking, actively looking to add someone to Boxville. So for right now, if someone wants to submit the application, they'll get an email that probably will come from me that just says, thanks, but right now, like we're, kind of everything is closed, and check back in with us in the spring. But in the spring, what people will get is, a Calendly link to set up I think it's like a 30-minute Zoom or what have you with someone from the team here. And we just talk through your idea. We talk through, tell me about, your business. Tell me about where you are and what stage you are in your business. Tell me how you plan to utilize the box, because we want to know a few things, right? We want to know, one, that this will actually help you in being successful versus, just being another expense for you. But two, we want to also make sure that the concept is a good fit and a good fit for Boxville as a whole. We don't duplicate things. We don't want people to be, oh, hold on. My lights in my office are motion censored. I've been sitting too long. That's usually my cue. I need to get up and start moving. But we don't want the folks that are in Boxville to be competing against each other, right? And cannibalistic to each other. So, for example, someone submitted recently an application. They have a taco concept. And, when I looked at it, I was just like, that's cool. But like, because we do have food-based businesses here as well. So for the food-based businesses, they don't do what we call hard cooking on site, because you can't do that here. They all have to be shared kitchen users and do all of their real prep and hard cooking at a shared kitchen, but then on site you can do finishing. So you can have like an induction burner and do, or you can hold hot, have a steam table, that kind of thing. But one of our businesses currently, one of our most popular, she's gone viral a couple times this summer. Her concept is rooted in tacos, right? So I was like, well, I'm not gonna have another taco person here because I'm not about to cut into Lucy's taco business, right? But you want to make sure that it's a good fit, and that it's a good fit for, we recognize we're on 51st and Prairie under the Green Line. While yes, there is, we do a lot to draw traffic here by having these events and activations. But other than that, you have to drum up your own foot traffic, right? There isn't just a ton of foot traffic walking down 51st Street. This isn't 47th Street, right? And so when part of the concept review, like I said, is also to determine, will you be successful here in certain concepts? You're just not going to get foot traffic for that. Right.
That sounds good. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Lauren, can you share a little bit about the holiday website and
yes,
what's happening with that?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me about that, because I definitely forgot, which is weird since I had a whole meeting about it today at 3:00. So I am going to drop another link in the chat for everyone. Please check this out. Last year, us here at Bronzeville and Samora and the crew at Bill Bronze at GECDC linked up and created a virtual marketplace for the holidays. It was the Southside Virtual Market. We got press and all, people were real excited about it. It was real cute. The intention was to have an actual holiday market, but COVID did what it did to everything. So everything went virtual. This year, we are planning to, again, do it virtually, but to also have some pop-up opportunities for the virtual market. So let me find a virtual market application. So the thing with the virtual market is that, we don't do any commerce. We don't do, it doesn't cost you anything. It's just another platform for you to, share your business and your concept with the world, right? And drive traffic to your website. So that's one thing. It does have to be a shoppable website, right? In order for you to be on the virtual market. But we'll add, we add you to the market. I am looking for the link to the application. We add you to the virtual market, and it's a very easy peasy thing to do. I just dropped the link in the chat for that. And if you were to go on Boxville's website now and look at like how to get involved, it actually, the virtual market is on there as well, because what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to have the virtual component for the holiday market, but we're going to also do some pop-up vending opportunities by way of Boxville for the holidays. So if you fill out that virtual market application, you'll kind of get in the queue for us to, as we start to build out, vendors for that holiday market. There's a potential that you can have that outlet as well. So it turned out, I think Tamora and I were both very pleasantly surprised with how well it turned out last year, and we're looking to grow it and do it even bigger this year. And it turned out so well that we kept, as you see, it is still there, and it doesn't say holiday market anymore. It just says virtual market, because it turned out well enough that we're like, let's just keep this all year long and continue to add folks all year long. So definitely check out the virtual market. Definitely fill out the form so that we can, one, get you on the virtual market. You can get on the virtual market regardless of if you can do the pop-up, but then also you're in the queue for us to be able to, as we start to look for partners for the pop-up market.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Yes,
any questions? Everybody got it? All right, ready to make some money over the holidays?
Come on, y'all. Get rid of. I just told somebody earlier, scared money don't make no money. Come on.
That's right. So true, so true. All right, thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you. Look, no, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, thank you guys. You know, we are always super excited to work with Tamora and Ria and the crew at GECDC. And, you know, I'm sure this has been a great boot camp. I am gonna drop off, so I appreciate that, Tamora, and dig from under a number of things that did not get done today. So, yes.
All
But
right.
definitely come on. I was just gonna say, come on down to 51st, guys. Check out Boxville in person. Like, there's nothing. Not when it's raining like right now. It's ugly. But Wednesday through Saturday, the businesses are open. Everyone opens noon or later, or noonish, not later, like 12:30. Everyone opens. Saturday. This Saturday we are doing a family Halloween. So if you got some kids, bring them down. We got all kinds of activities for kids. There'll be a DJ. There'll be just fun stuff happening. It'll be a good opportunity to come and see it in person and give you a feel for it live in the living room.
Cool, great. So Lauren, hopefully we'll see you next week. So you can be one of our panel judges to do the pitches. So guys, don't get scared. Lauren's a really, really nice person.
I am.
He has a lot of experience as it relates to business and all of that. So please, if you know, when you're doing your pitch, if Lauren's able to make it, I'm sure she's going to give you some great advice. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay. Thanks, Lauren. See you later.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the night. Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye. Okay, Pamela Randall. I'm gonna see if I can get your presentation up here first. Make sure I downloaded everything. But I'll let you go ahead and kind of do introduction, and then we'll go from there. I just want to let you guys know this is a wonderful, great lady. I mean, man, when I met her, I was like, okay, you can't go anywhere. So we got to be connected like forever. And so she's been supporting the Greater Inglewood CDC. And so Pam, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, so excited to be a part of this discussion today. You know, it's always a pleasure to participate in your activities tomorrow. Really excited to just kind of bring additional information and resources to the group. So I'm Pam Randall. I am a vice president of business banking. It's part of the Minority Entrepreneur Initiative. And so I've actually been with the firm, different capacities, for over 20 years. Born and raised in Chicago, more specifically born and raised in Inglewood, 7035 South Wentworth to be exact. Went to Lindblom Tech High School. So, you know, this is near and dear to my heart, you know, wanting to really bring the resources and opportunities, you know, to communities that there it is, someone said swoop. So that response is there it is. So, you know, really happy to be here. As I mentioned, the Minority Entrepreneur Initiative is really a newer initiative for the firm. It actually started about a year ago. I was first in seat for that. What we wanted to do was to really focus on opportunities for under-resourced business, minority-owned businesses that tend to be in under-resourced communities. So if you look at Chicago, for example, that tends to be the south and west sides of the city. And the goal of this is to provide business owners like yourself with access to information, resources, opportunity, and potentially capital to help businesses grow to size and scope, so you get to hire more folks in the community to really create the sustainable system. And we do that in a couple ways. We do that by working with small businesses that are within the profile that to provide individual and group coaching. We also do that at a broader level, which is why we partner with organizations such as Tamora's, in order to get the information out to really larger groups. And so what you'll find is that our group will participate in panel discussions such as this. Earlier today, I was actually in the city of Chicago, the discussion based upon their focus on small business owners. And the goal, again, is to really provide that educational and foundational piece that will allow these businesses like yours to flourish. One of the things that is what we specifically focus on are businesses that tend to have the substance, meaning, oftentimes they've been around for 2 years or greater. They also typically have revenue of 100,000 and more. And so they've had some success, but have not really been able to scale. And what we'll do is kind of come in and work with them to provide that guidance that allows them to fill in the infrastructure gaps that may exist in order to grow to that size and capacity. Certainly by partnering with local community organizations, we're able to kind of get the information and knowledge out to a much broader audience, like you guys today. But in addition to that, just partnering with folks like the Small Business Administration, specifically as a part of SCORE, other local organizations like Women's Business Development Center that really work with businesses like yours day in and day out. And so that is really the goal and the purpose of our initiative. It's kind of interesting because we act as senior consultants. And while we may be trained as commercial or business bankers, the reality is that our goals are not specific to bringing in new deposits or actually having, lending goals. It's truly around what are we doing to really help shore up the infrastructure of an organization. So for example, mentoring someone, let's just say we're entered into a mentoring relationship. When we started, you were at 200,000 and now you're at $1 million, or you hired another employee, or you have access to a new contract, or you're certified from a minority business perspective. So those are like indicators that we're really focusing on building the community itself. And so the consultants such as myself spend a lot of time in that particular space. It's really interesting because last year at this time, we were just getting started. I remember sitting in actually July of last year, just really determining what is going to be the best approach to bring to market. And if we look today, we're now in soon to be 20 cities across our footprint. So, we definitely were able to make an impact in a short period of time, and really continuing to kind of learn and grow and get feedback from organizations and the community in order to make sure that this is a sustainable business model. So that is probably more information than you ever wanted to know about, the Lindblom Eagle swoop. There it is. But Tamara, you tell me if you were kind of ready for me to highlight the things that we had discussed.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Is this your PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, so this is actually part of a much longer and deeper presentation. And so recognizing that we would be spending about 10, 15 minutes on this today, my thought was that we'd focus on page 9, which basically outlines all of the individual parts that are included in the presentation. And then certainly, as questions come up, we can expand on those.
Okay.
So, yes, great, thank you. So really, the reason that I like to leverage this slide is because it does talk about, in a nutshell, what financial institutions kind of look for, what exactly as a business owner should you be focusing on, and how do you begin to kind of build and create the sustainable model. And so the first thing is really looking at, cash flow. Oftentimes I hear business owners say, well, it's the money that I had, the revenue that I just earned for the day, the week of the month. But if we really start to think strategically about cash flow, a couple things really will come to mind. Cash flow is way more than money that is actually just within the bank. It's how a business can use the funds that they have coming in. Ultimately, to increase the way that revenue comes in and decrease the outflow, right? So you want to get the money in faster and you want to slow down. Obviously, you want to be on time for payments, but you want to slow down the sending cash out. So so thinking about that, there's several things that you tend to look at. You look at paying suppliers. How exactly am I focused on paying suppliers? Are there credit terms that, for example, that I might be able to negotiate with suppliers that will allow me to hold onto my cash a little bit longer? How do I pay my employees, right? What's the dollar amount that is associated with that? If I have a brick and mortar or a part of Barksville, what is the rent cost going to look like? And then how ultimately can I reinvest into my business? That part is extremely important because sometimes I'll talk with business owners and they're so focused on, like, for example, a new contracting opportunity, and they do have cash left over after, for example, they've paid all of their expenses, and they're like, hey, I'm just gonna use that for personal reasons. You know, you really want to think about how can you reinvest any extra funds that you have in order to give back to the business to continue to help it grow to size and scope. So ultimately, you know, I would just encourage you guys to kind of think about cash flow, that it, one, needs to be managed, two, that it is an efficient process for payables and receivables, but ultimately timing will be critical within that process. And then making a determination on when to borrow, if it makes sense to borrow, and how that will impact the flow of cash through my business. The second part, which is really kind of tied directly into the first one, is understanding, does your business need to borrow? So the interesting thing about this is that, hey, recognizing if you have access to capital, that can be a great opportunity. But what comes along with that is the ability to repay what you've just borrowed. So taking a deeper dive to determine, is it really necessary in order for me to borrow? If I do borrow, what will that allow me to do? Will now I increase my revenue by a certain percentage? Will that now allow me to go after new contract opportunities? Does that now allow me to bring on another employee that can help generate additional revenue for the business? So really taking a deeper dive into understanding if the business needs to borrow and why you need to borrow. All banks typically want to understand, you know, one, how long you've been in business, two, your management experience with the business, if the business is actually profitable, and then, you know, what's the credit opportunity? How are you handling your personal credit? How does that impact the way things are going, you know, and being run within the business? And what can you do to ensure that business credit is actually built? So recognizing that if there is an expansion opportunity, what exactly does that mean for the business? If you do, for example, expand, will that require a new location? How many new employees, if any, will be required? And more importantly, what additional expenses will you need to take on in order to continue to grow? Sometimes one of the things that I'll see is business owners will focus on, oh, I got this wonderful contract opportunity, and that's great. But they won't focus on what is it that they're going to need to execute the contract. I got $1 million contract, but the reality is that how much will you need to have on reserve or as a part of being able to fund this new opportunity? Because that will make a difference as far as whether it really makes sense to take on that new contract, or do you need to kind of reevaluate that? Sometimes I hear, you know, businesses that have grown and grown, and it is actually possible to grow yourself out of business because of the fact that the cash flow may not be managed appropriately, and or the contract opportunity, for example, is great, but you're not being profitable for that, which is why it is so important to have a team of advisors, to have your core, you know, folks. I always like to say, you need to have a banker, you need to have your CPA, you need to have a great attorney, because that particular network, along with, of course, other support, like marketing and media and HR, those things will really help your business create a really solid and foundational opportunity as you look to grow. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of highlight is, why are you a good investment? Sometimes people will have wonderful ideas and wonderful opportunities, and they'll say, hey, this is the idea that I've come up with. Financial institution, I need $1 million in order to do this, or I need, 100,000 to do this. Well, let's take a deeper dive and look at would this be a good investment, not only for the financial institution, because ultimately the bank, whatever they lend, ideally they want that repaid, right? And so as you look at being a good investment, what does that mean? Right? Banks always look at leadership, along with venture capitalists or those that are willing to, invest in the business in some form. So what's the leadership look like? What experience do you have as a leader in this business? What support system do you have that's important, that will allow you then to not only take advantage of opportunities, but if there are challenges that occur within the business, you have the expertise available in order to solve those particular challenges. And then, of course, if we're looking at it from a borrowing perspective, we've talked about cash flow, but collateral may be important depending upon what it is that you're actually needing the cash flow for. It can be a little bit easier and more straightforward. For example, if you are purchasing a piece of equipment, or you're purchasing real estate, and that's because those things can serve as the collateral. If, for example, you're looking at funding an invoice or an accounts receivable, I should say, that you've had the opportunity to earn from another business or individual, but it's going to take you a little bit of time to actually get repaid. So the difference in that is you're creating an accounts receivable where you've earned the money, but you have not yet been paid out on that. And so the bank wants to understand then, how does that look? What are the terms? How frequent, how valuable is the accounts receivable? And are they typically are they more than likely going to give you then the funds that you have already earned? And so a financial institution will look at all of those things very carefully as a part of this. Of course, personal and business credit scores are important. Oftentimes people will say, hey, I'm a business. Why do you need to look at my personal credit score? Well, the reason that institutions look at personal credit is because the business owner is tied closely to the business. Ultimately, it becomes, is it in my left pocket or is it in my right pocket, right? So the cash that you get or the earnings that you make would either go directly back into the business, or it may go to fund personal to fund like your personal expenses or serve as salary for you. So your personal credit score then demonstrate how you handle debt. So financial institutions will take a deeper look at that to see what your rankings are around that. The other thing that is really important, which is, as we look at support organizations like what Tamara's group does, is like it really kind of takes or demystifies, I should say, what is actually required. So if, for example, there might be challenges around the personal credit, hey, here's what you need to do in order to kind of work through that. Here are ways to really take a deeper dive to improve your personal credit score, or if you have a business credit score, some businesses do and others don't, just evaluating what that actually looks like and what opportunities exist in order to improve that. The reason that this is important is, which ties into the fourth part around financial data, the bank and loan officers really want to feel confident that you have the ability to repay the debt that you're looking at borrowing. So that really is around being able to mitigate risk that's out there. And so having a clean and good credit package, having the opportunity to work with business professionals, folks on your team that can help fill in the blanks for you, or the guides are really crucial to taking advantage of, for example, if you're looking at borrowing. The other thing that I like to mention, which oftentimes is overlooked, is if there are investment opportunities that's out there. When I say investment, I should actually say grant opportunities. You know, one of the things that we found across the city, county, and state is that there might be opportunities for grants that may be specific to what your needs are. So taking a much deeper dive in that to access all of the resources that are out there to determine, are there grant opportunities that are available? Can I apply for those? And you know, what will be the outcome? Because the great thing is that grants, you don't have to pay back. Loans, you do. So grants are oftentimes a first source when you're looking for access to capital or access to cash. So the last part of it really is around just credit options themselves. And I'm certain that you guys, as part of your boot camp, you take a deeper dive in this particular area. But I always like to, you know, just kind of take a higher level approach and say, hey, from a credit perspective, what exists? Well, you can have a business credit card, you can have a line of credit, you can have a term loan, right? And then, of course, if you're purchasing property, for example, you're doing purchasing a commercial real estate business or building in order to have your business operate out of, you know, that can be a commercial mortgage. And so the great thing about this is having the appropriate partnerships and the resource guides available, then you're able to kind of match based on what you're looking at borrowing, the reason for the borrowing, with what is the best credit option available to you. And in working with any financial institution, your CPA and your accountant, they can definitely help you kind of peel the onion back based upon what's going to make the most sense. A credit card is, you know, a great option, but that is typically, you know, very short term because interest rates on credit cards are much higher. So let's just say you're using that, you know, to buy some basic supplies or to, you know, make some basic payments, but it is ideally you want to ensure that that revolves. So typically the bill is coming in, you're paying it off in a very short period of time, whereas some of the other options are really more longer term opportunities. And that really kind of ties into the SBA piece of it, which there are many SBA options. And with, you know, Tamara's group and, you know, specifically being an SBDC, I'm sure that they're able to really kind of dig in deep for that. The one thing that I like to tell business owners about SBA is that it is not a lender of last resort, right? So there's no substitute for sound business practices, for great management experience and a well thought out plan. An SBA loan, for example, can help reduce or mitigate some of the risks that's out there. But if fundamentally the transaction, you know, does not meet the qualifications, or there are a lot of challenges with the core and that's out there, then an SBA loan isn't going to solve for that. It really does not make a bad loan good. What it's meant for is to ensure that those opportunities that there are more favorable credit terms. So for example, it could be, as opposed to 5 years, the SBA with an SBA guarantee, you may be able to extend that to 7 years. So it kind of helps with cash flow, but there's no substitute for cash flow. You still have to have it. And so, you know, it's a great resource to leverage as you kind of look at, does it make sense for me to borrow and what options exist? So ultimately, you know, starting at this foundational level, you're able to put strategies in place to start building, as it says, begin building your own empire, having a powerful team of advisors around you, and recognizing that it is a business plan subject to change, but at least you have that roadmap. So Tamara, that's really what I wanted to kind of share. You know, certainly happy to, you know, take any questions that the group may have or feedback.
All righty, thank you so much, Pamela. Are there any questions? Wow, you guys are good. You don't have no questions.
Yes. Did I hear that you're with Chase Bank?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can provide her contact information to you via email so that you'll have that information. Okay, so we're gonna move on. If there are no more questions.
I just wanted to offer, Tamara, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You know, and just in terms of the options that were discussed, I mean, these things are really vitally important for new business owners to understand when something goes wrong, that it's a matter not just understanding that something's wrong, but to get to the root cause of it. And so that's going to help you look for the best solution. Because if you don't have clarity with respect to the root cause, the solutions you choose might not help at all. They could actually make things worse. And so the advice that was offered, you know, is really great advice, and to think through and think about these factors that are so important to understanding why you need to take action and match things up so that your maturities in terms of what you're borrowing and in terms of how what terms you have in paying it back are matched. If they're not matched, you know, you're gonna run yourself into a corner that you can't get out of. And so I really appreciate, you know, our speakers' fine advice, because it's so important to keep a clear mind about all these things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ray. So I think as far as presentations, we got one more. She's also a lender, and she's with CIBC Bank. And so Charnel, I'm gonna have you jump on. I'm gonna also share my screen. I'm sure that some of what Pamela shared with us on tonight is some of the kind of things that you were thinking about. I really wanted to share with them your program that you have as they go through this business plan bootcamp. But I have my screen up so that you are able to see there are documents that are actually in our platform that Charnel shared with us this summer, so that you can review. I think, Charnel, is it, are your financials in order and ready for business?
Yeah, the business and credit do's and don'ts, and the are your financials in order and ready for business.
Okay.
A couple of the items that Pamela touched on just happened to be on one or two of these, because they tend to be things that we as bankers see on a pretty regular basis. So either one of those we could start with, Tamora.
Okay. All right. I'll start with, are your financials in order and ready for business?
Great.
So I think I'm sharing the screen. Everybody can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So as Tamora said, I'm Charnel Curtis Martin. I am a small business lender for CIBC Bank. And if some of you have never heard of CIBC, I'm not offended by that, because we did not exist in the US until 2019. So prior to that, we were the private bank and have the majority of our locations on the southwest side of the city of Chicago, some downtown, and in the suburbs. So in my role at CIBC, I actually work with several entrepreneurial training programs similar to the one that Tamora and Ray run for Greater Englewood. And so through these programs, we want to make sure that there's certain information, and I don't want to call them secrets, but things that as entrepreneurs, you guys just may not be terribly aware of. And sometimes if we just share this information with you all, it will improve your ability to do better business. So when we talk about are your financials in order, Pamela touched upon your credit, your personal credit being in good order. And so we recognize that, you know, parts of life, your credit is not always going to be in good order unless you just are very lucky. But knowing what your credit scores are, knowing what all three of the credit reporting agencies are reporting for you. And I would encourage you all to probably utilize the annualcreditreport.com or maybe myfico.com to see what your credit scores are, because a lot of times things that you will find on Credit Karma and sometimes associated with credit cards that come with your statement may not be the most reliable source of what your credit scores are. So, and if you utilize these, hopefully you will not be charged anything. And because you are inquiring into your credit score, it will not show as a inquiry. But if a lender or someone else pulls your credit report, it is going to show as an inquiry, and inquiries also reduce your score. So the one thing you want to do is before you're applying for credit, have conversations with lenders and get a really good sense of what their requirements and their parameters are around their programs. I know for our program, which I will touch upon a little bit later, depending on how much capital you want to access, your credit score could be as low as 600, it could be as low as 620. But if you want larger amounts of capital, then the better your credit score is, the more you're able to access. So working with resources like YWCA of Metropolitan Chicago, the Resurrection Project, Center for Working Families. They have financial literacy programs. Tamora, you guys have one too also, don't you?
We do the financial literacy. We did profit mastery over the summer. So yeah, we offer classes as well.
Okay, great. And that way, you know, when you're having that conversation, usually people are a little more comfortable sharing with Tamora or, you know, a good advisor about, you know, what some of their issues and challenges are. People all never really want to share those details with the lender because they're afraid that that's going to interfere with their ability to access capital. But the one thing that is important to me is that as long as you all know the information and we're having a candid conversation about what, if any, issues there are, then I can give you good feedback and encourage you on how we as bankers look at this information and how the banking system is set up. So that's one thing that, you know, is going to be oftentimes off-putting to people to deal with traditional lenders, but you know, a lot of the banks are trying to make programs that make it easier to access capital. Pamela mentioned and touched upon, you know, collateral. You know, collateral and credit tend to be the biggest hurdles in folks being able to access capital. But the most important thing is that you have equity to bring to your venture. It's great to be an expert at what you do. It's great to have passion for what you do. But in order to access capital, you have to have money of your own, equipment of your own, things to contribute to the business, because no one is going to want to lend to you if you're not willing to invest in your business yourself. And you have to invest first before a lender or an investor or anyone else is willing to work with you. So, you know, traditionally that's going to be cash. Oftentimes lenders are going to want to see cash in their bank particularly, and they'll ask for bank statements or they'll ask for what do you have to bring to the tables. So when you're preparing a personal financial statement for yourself, that kind of information is always going to be listed in terms of what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and then any equity that you have in your assets. Tamara, can you go down to the next page, please? The whole thing about collateral has been always a huge hurdle for a lot of folks, especially business owners in the community, because banks are looking for specific collateral. They want to see real estate. They want to see vehicles if they're free and clear. They want to see machinery and equipment. Love to see cash in the bank if that's available. But those are the things that lenders want comfort in, knowing that in the event that the loan or line of credit that we extend you, if you're not able to pay it back, there's something that we can secure in order to make the bank whole. So typically, if you're looking for every dollar of resources that you're looking to borrow, the bank ideally wants $1.50 for that collateral. And they want to see 1.2 times or better. So if you don't have any collateral, that's going to be a challenge. However, I know for the program that we have, we don't require specific collateral on smaller loans. We will take a blanket lien on business assets. Now, keep in mind, right now during the pandemic, because there has been lots of resources made available through the city, through the state, through the SBA, some of those programs, depending on the dollar amount of your loan, is going to be out there as a lien against your business. So sometimes people have been so excited just to be able to get resources, they haven't asked that question. So if you're going to be planning on securing financing, keep in mind, if a PPP loan was not forgiven, if you were able to access an economic injury disaster loan through the SBA or the City of Chicago Resiliency Fund, those, depending on the amounts, are going to be liens against the business assets. So just know that that might come up when you're trying to secure funding. If you have some challenges with respect to your credit, or if you're very early on in the business life cycle, you may need a co-borrower or a co-signer. And that person doesn't necessarily have to be in your business, but they need to be someone who believes in what you're trying to do. And the whole point of having a co-borrower or co-signer is having someone who's in a better financial and credit position than you are. And you have to have that conversation with them if that's something you feel that you're going to need. What has happened on a couple of occasions is there's somebody who's always encouraging you. And if you say, would you be my co-borrower or co-signer? They're like, yes, absolutely. But they're not going to tell you that their credit score is a 545, which is not going to help your situation at all. So that's part of the conversation that you need to have. Do you mind me asking what your credit score is? If you're not comfortable asking that question, then you don't want to ask them to be a co-borrower or co-signer. Again, we talked about the personal financial position briefly. Almost any application you're going to complete, regardless if it's a lender, a micro lender, they're going to ask, what do you have? And typically those assets, we're asking if you have ideally cash, real estate, if you have retirement accounts, other business assets, hopefully your equity in your business, and then liabilities typically are going to include credit cards. If you have a vehicle, maybe a vehicle loan, if you own a home or a piece of real estate, a mortgage. And then ideally, we would love for you to have equity at the end of the puzzle. Now, the thing is, if you have lots of student loans, it's not unusual if your equity is negative because you have this debt, but you don't have an asset to offset it. But that's not really troubling because folks like to see that you're investing in yourself as an individual. And oftentimes that just comes with the puzzle is the student loan debt. I'm sure by the time all of you all get finished with this cohort, you're going to have a great business plan because I know Tamora and Ray are going to make sure you have it. You're utilizing the boot camp, and there are other entrepreneurial trainings, especially if you are an advanced business or you have lots of years in like the Goldman Sachs program, for example, the Women's Business Development Center's Scale Up program, or the Chicago State Southside Executive Entrepreneurial Training. We want people to continue to grow and continue to learn about opportunities. And so you're learning amazing stuff right now, but there's even more stuff that unfortunately Tamora and Ray are not able to cover in just 6 weeks. So lending is one resource, but there's also others that you all should consider. And it's not a matter of, oh, I can just utilize this one. Ideally, you want to be utilizing at least 2, 3, or 4 of the items that I have listed here under number 8. So crowdfunding is a resource. Kiva Zip, True Crowd, Seed Chicago are all different platforms where if you have the kind of business concept that people find really engaging, people may want to support your business by participating and committing funds to your project. Micro lenders, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of them before, and ironically, almost all of them have changed their names recently. But the Women's Business Development Center has a microloan program. Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives Microfinance Group is now called Greenwood Archer Capital. They are on the south side, and Alliance for Business used to be called Axion Chicago. These are all programs that have no minimum credit score. So from that perspective, that gives some entrepreneurs more options to be able to access capital. But keep in mind, their interest rates are going to be higher. And they're probably going to do just as much due diligence as a traditional lender is going to be able to do, but they're going to have more limited programs. So there are more than one option out there to banks. And alternative lenders such as Summer Core 504, Community Reinvestment Fund, those different lenders can do some, well, I know Summer Core can do real estate, Community Reinvestment Fund can do real estate too, but they're not based in Chicago, though they cover Chicago. So you just want to be looking at those resources. And when Pamela was talking about having contract opportunities, if you're at a point in the business life cycle where you're not able to access large chunks of money yet to fulfill a contract, you may want to consider factoring, because they don't look at you as an individual and all of your background, they look at the value of the contract. So if someone produces cookies and Target is crazy about your cookies and want to put them at every store, then the factoring professional is going to look at the value of Target, how quickly they pay, the amount of your contract, and they will tell you how much they're comfortable advancing off of that contract. That makes a tremendous difference when you're not in the position yet to be able to access capital through traditional lenders. And the next item I'm going to talk about, a lot of people, especially bankers, don't say this, but especially during the pandemic, when people were in a bad position and trying to access resources like the PPP loan, if you have more than one bank relationship, you have more options. If you only have one bank relationship, you're very limited, because you're limited to whatever that lender is comfortable lending in terms of industries, in terms of communities. So if you have more than one bank relationship, then you have more options. The one thing that was troubling to hear during the pandemic, especially when people were trying to access PPP funds, is sometimes people were trying to ask questions and there was no one there to answer a phone and answer a question to help small business entrepreneurs access those resources. So for that reason, you just want to have more than one door to knock on and say, hey, what can I do for this? What can I do for that? What do I need to be doing to prepare? Because I know for a fact, every one of our lenders were answering phone calls all hours of the day, often on weekends, and people were walking in, getting information. And we were very successful in being able to get more than 80% of our clients PPP funds. So that's one of the things that also helps with having more than one relationship. And so many banks get acquired. Like I said, prior to 2019, there was no CIBC in the US. And so if a bank gets acquired, then somewhere in a conference room, someone is going to make a decision about if we're still doing these kinds of industries. You don't want to be in the position where someone makes a decision about if they're going to continue to do business with businesses that look like yours. So just keep that in mind. And if you are starting your own business, make sure that you have these items, because these items are going to be applicable. It doesn't matter if it's a micro lender, it doesn't matter if it's a traditional lender, you're going to need your last 2 or 3 years of personal and business tax returns. You're going to need to complete a personal financial statement. If you don't have an accountant or a bookkeeper, hopefully you utilize the software that's going to be able to produce your income statement, also known as a profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, and if you sell products on terms, then your accounts receivable schedule. These things are going to be absolutely crucial because no lender can make decisions without that information. And if you've done your business plan well, You're going to be able to have your marketing and sales plan already laid out. And ideally, once you've really done that work, you're going to know what your needs are. You're going to know if you need a line of credit or a loan or both, depending on where you are in the business life cycle. Because in the beginning, you often need both resources, but depending on what type of business, you may not be able to exist without a line of credit. So a line of credit may be really crucial, and just being able to access those resources. So that's all I have on this. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Wow, this is a great class.
Well, Charnel, I have to congratulate both you and Pamela for superb, performances here tonight, because these are the things that matter. Okay, really matter. You know what you mentioned in number 8 on the pathways of different alternatives for financing are so important. And the thing about it is that some of them are really kind of cyclical factors. In other words, a cyclical factor of your business, at times needs to have a resolution in place, not at the last minute, but on an ongoing basis. And so what Charnel and Pamela were relating to us tonight are really telling everyone that, you need to have the capacity to stay on top of your performance on a real-time basis. Because if you can't do that, you're going to have a real challenging time to address things that are going wrong. It's going to be too late for you, and if you don't stay on top of these things on a real-time basis. The beauty of what you've heard tonight is that it's been recorded. Okay, there's nothing stopping you from going back and listening to what Pamela and Charnel, have said. They've covered a lot of ground tonight, and it may take some time to absorb it, but it's worth the time it takes you to do that, because it's going to be important for the rest of the time that you're in business.
Wonderful, thank you, Ray. Any questions? All righty, Charnel, can you share with a program that you guys are running for anybody that's doing the boot camp?
Sure. So I think I emailed it to you. Do you want to share your screen with me tomorrow, and hopefully I can get my mouse to cooperate?
Let me see. What is it called? Do you know?
It is called the 2021 ETP flyer.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up. I have so many files. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it in my my list. Let's see.
If you want to share your screen tomorrow, I should be able to.
Yeah, I can do that. So it's available. Can you share your screen, or can you?
I sure can.
So I wanted to share with you guys the importance of actually completing this boot camp, because there are some benefits to it, and wanted Charnel to share some benefits that CVIC Bank has. So
Can you see that tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the program that we have currently available for those entrepreneurs that have completed entrepreneurial training. And we evidence this by your certificate that you're going to receive once it's all over in just another week or so. So we have a fixed rate loan available of up to that's available at 5.99%. And if you are a startup, you can access up to $10,000. If you're an existing business of a year or more, you can access up to $30,000. And so you also have the option to do a loan or a line of credit or both. And so with a line of credit, that's going to be a variable interest rate product of prime plus 4. And right now, prime is 3.25%. The one thing I would just want to point out, to access a loan, you do not have to have a deposit relationship with CIBC, but to access a line of credit, you do. And so because the way the program works is if you have a line of credit, you send in a request for funds, they transfer the funds to your business bank account. If you're accessing a loan at the time of the closing, you're going to sign loan documents, and later that day, you're going to have funds deposited into the account that you identify. If you have a CIBC deposit account, it's going to be deposited into that account. If you don't, it will be deposited into the business bank account that you identify. In addition to the certificate, you're going to provide those documents that I mentioned earlier, the 2 years of personal and business tax returns. You're going to provide your business plan if you're a startup. You're going to provide a couple other documents. It's not an overwhelming application package. It's only about 3 documents, and the loan application is the longest one, and it's 5 pages long. So it's not a lot of information. Just remember that you are going to be personally guaranteeing these obligations. And the one thing that I really like about our program is, say, for instance, you obtain a loan, a line of credit, or both, because lines of credit are renewed on an annual basis. In the event that you need additional funds, you can, after receiving a loan or line of credit, every 6 months, touch base, say, hey, I have opportunities. I think I need to increase my line of credit. We can take a look, and if we are in the position to renew your line of credit or increase your line of credit, we will do so. Another thing I want to mention about our program is we look at global cash flow. So this makes a big difference in people being able to access resources if their business is not generating a tremendous amount of revenue yet. So, but if you still have full-time employment, if you have a co-borrower or a co-signer that has strong personal global cash flow, we can look at that as well when determining if a business is able to access capital. So that makes a big difference. And I am located at our branch that is in Mount Greenwood at right near 111th and Kedzie. We also have a new branch in Bronzeville, which is right near the Marianos at King Drive and Pershing Road. And I go there to meet with clients as well. So we have options to be able to assist clients. And tomorrow there's another flyer I'm going to share really quickly that's essentially for the more established businesses. And that's this particular flyer. Now, for that entrepreneurial training flyer, your minimum credit score had to be at least 600 or better. But let's be clear, you know, if you're trying to access $25,000, your credit score is going to need to be better than 600. It's going to probably need to be at least a 630 or 640. For this particular program, our Community Plus program, this is for folks who've been in business for a couple years, have strong revenues. The majority of their revenues are coming from the business. And so this program is, again, is a combination of loan or line of credit or both. And this could be up to $100,000. It's going to be a 1-year renewable line of credit. If you're interested in a loan, the options are, if you're choosing a term of 1 to 3 years, the interest rate is 5.75%. If you're choosing a term of 4 or 5 years, the interest rate is going to be 6.75%. And as long as your revenues for your business are $1 million, under $1 million, and your credit score is at least a 660, you can utilize this program. So the one thing about this program and the entrepreneurial training program is there is no application fee, there is no closing fees. So some of the other options that I mentioned, like the crowdfunding, the micro lending, they do charge fees because they are most of the time nonprofit lending organizations. And so generating application fees and closing fees are part of their revenue structure. We don't charge any fees on any of these items. And so this is typically what a lot of people like about our program, is because you do have the ability to get a combination of a loan and a line of credit in one application. It doesn't require 2 applications. And it typically can be done within 30 days, as long as you have all of your information ready to be submitted. Typically within 30 days, we can make that happen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charnel. And for anybody that's on the line tonight, please look at the opportunities to reach out to each of them if you are considering, getting your business up and running. I know a few of you are in the beginning stages, but there are a few of you that have been kind of running your business before. So we want to make sure that you have all of the available information and even the business credit do's and don'ts. It's on our platform. So you can always pull that up and review that. We did record this, so once the recording is complete, we'll send that out to you. And then you can always look at it again, just in case. So are there any questions? Because we're gonna wrap it up tonight, so everybody can get their dinner or their dessert if they've, if you've already, maybe you've already did the dinner, but maybe you got to get that bowl of ice cream or something. So just want to check before we close out. Any comments, any questions, or anything? Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow, are you going to say something about the pitch competition next, the pitch for next week?
Yeah, so next week, I shared with you, it's on our platform, is the pitch information about the pitch competition and just preparing for your presentation. There is some worksheets in case you need some assistance. You can always reach out to us as well. And some of our presenters that were on tonight will also be on our panel. So they have scoring sheets that they'll be utilizing. So we just want to share with you to be, have fun with it. In the past, as I've shared before, we've had people put in, we're virtual, so they put in different backgrounds or different things to represent their type of business. So I encourage you to do that as well. And so we're gonna do the 3 to 5 minute kind of pitch presentation. So start practicing so that you can get your time in and make sure that you're covering all the points that they will be scoring you on. for the presentation on next week. So, any questions related to that statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Because mine is a new invention and I don't have the patent, so I've been kind of like skirting around certain information, but I just want everyone to know that when I do my pitch, it won't be that item.
Okay, that's understood. We got to keep it under wraps until it is legal.
Until we get it together, right?
Exactly. But just like you shared the first night when we started, just to kind of give us a concept or idea, it can be an example or whatever the case may be. We just want to make sure that you're able to flow with the presentation. We want to make sure that you're able to understand what you're going to do, understand the potential cash flow and the money that you'll make with it. So you don't necessarily have to tell us specifically what it is, but those are some of the things that we'll be looking for and they'll be scoring you on.
All right.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say great information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one other thing you might want to consider with respect to the pitch is it's always useful to kind of talk about like where you are now, like in the here and now, and then where is it you want to get to and how you want to approach it and what help you might need to get there. Okay, just make it real.
Yep. Exactly. All righty. Anybody else? Rhea, you got something for us tonight?
No, I'm good. Enjoyed the presentations. Thank you, everyone.
All righty. Well, thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Charnel. Always appreciate you sharing your information.
Oh, wait. Tamara, I do have one thing.
Yeah.
There is a grant out from the city of Chicago. Did everybody receive that information?
Ooh, grant.
So if you are, if your revenues are less than 60,000, you are eligible for a $5,000 grant. And if your revenues are between 60 and 3 million, you're eligible for a $10,000 grant. And I will send the link out to everybody.
Thank you. Love you.
So
wonderful. Hey, this free money, right?
Yeah. So what that means is there's money on the table.
Right. Let's get some of it. Love you.
Don't leave money on the table.
There's nothing better than free money.
Right, exactly. All righty, if all minds are clear and we're all good, please check out the platform. I see some of you have done your homework and thank you so much. Hopefully all of you have access to LivePlan to start building your business plan. If you do not, reach out to us so that I can make sure that you have access to LivePlan so that you can start doing your business plan and getting that information put into the portal so that we can start reviewing those business plans and giving you back comments. After we finish the boot camp, you will have an additional 6 weeks to utilize LivePlan. So it's not like a rush, okay, session 6, graduation, bye. No, we're going to work with you to get that information in there so that you can kind of get a good template or good business plan. And so we're all available to help you navigate that process. So we want to make sure that that what we've done for these last weeks are not in vain, but that you've gotten some good information and that you're able to now move forward with all the services and the products and the things that have been shared even on tonight, and also our availability so that once the boot camp is over, that doesn't mean we're gone. We're still here. So you can always reach out to any of us to get whatever information you need. So, all right, everybody good? All right, let's go get that ice cream. Okay, have a nice evening.
Praise
Bye-bye.
God. Love you. Thanks.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.